This week's Piltch Point with Avram Pilch is proudly powered by PureVPN. The best way to protect your privacy online is with PureVPN. You can hide your online activities, say goodbye to regional restrictions, and improve your streaming quality. Plus, it's available for almost all of your devices. You can get a special price and a 31-day money-back guarantee right now by going to piltchpoint.live/PureVPN. I really like that new music. I feel like we're back to the old days with like headbanging music for the Piltch Point. Anyway, we've got some more AI stuff going on this week, right, Avram? You are muted, friend.
Sorry, I don't know where that is. Yes, I'm going to do some headbanging. This story is going to make me want to do some headbanging, but not the good kind.
Yeah.
The sort of the banging into the wall kind. Yeah. So, well, let's start with some good news, just for the heck of it. The good news is that I think I may have mentioned, I probably mentioned a few weeks ago that Runway Gen 2 is a like absolutely fantastic video to text to video AI, and it was in private beta. But good news, it is no longer in private beta. Anybody can get it, although you have a limited number of like a minute worth of video you can make out of 4-second videos. So, just to get things on a nice mode. And we have a story about this in Tom's Hardware. If you go to runwayml.com and you sign up for a free account, you can generate a video. So we did this. I think we've done this once before, but the UI is slightly different because now it's web-based instead of going through Discord. Now that's available to everyone. So, and you can upload pictures. So here I'm going to take this picture of me to add to my prompt. Now let's see. Shall I ask it to see me doing something? What should I say? This guy banging his head against a wall.
I was going to say something very similar, so that works out well.
Okay, so I hit generate. Because I'm not on a paid account, I might have to wait a minute, and then it's going to queue up, and you can actually, unlike what we saw with Discord, where it just kind of comes back to you eventually, here you can actually see the progress rate. So while we're waiting so let's leave this for a moment and talk about our main topic for today, which is that Google's SGE, Search Generative Experience, is showing itself to be an existential threat to the free and open internet. And because not only is it, basically trying to get rid of regular search, but it's also a massive plagiarism engine. So I don't know if I've actually shown SGE on the air before on this show. Have I?
I don't think so.
I've shown Bard probably, but I don't think I showed SGE. So let's talk a minute about SGE. So SGE means Search Generative Experience, and if you are signed up for the beta, which you can sign up and you may or may not get in right away, but I'm in, and all of your searches will be like this. So let me do a search that most searches will pull up the AI. So I'll do best CPU. So at first you'll see regular search, but then you see this generating thing, and it can be quite slow, but I can assume that Google will get a faster computer. So you see what just happened? The search results are gone once it's loaded. I don't mean they're gone. You got to scroll down but a lot of people are not going to do that.
That's a full screen worth of Google takeover.
Right. Correct. That's why I say they're killing search, because it's the entire. depending on what you do, it may or may not take up the entire screen, but a lot of the time it takes up the entire screen. And this, by the way, is a 4K monitor that you're looking at it on.
Right.
Although it is at like 175% scaling, so I don't know. It's like I measured this the other day, and it was like 1,360 pixels to the first result, and that's without having an advertisement here, which you would expect that there would be. So anyway, so I searched for best CPU, and rather than giving you links to best CPU from Tom's Hardware, which is the #1 result, otherwise, it gives you Google's choices of best CPU. And which are not necessarily good. So first of all, this advice is very generic, right? Like performance, get good number of cores, whatever. And then you have these, which are shopping links. And this is interesting. It usually actually gives you a model number, but here it just says AMD Ryzen processor. Thanks a lot. For those who are even teeniest bit familiar with CPUs, they know that Ryzen is an entire line of processors, of which there are dozens of models. So I'll click here, and Google's going to get me to go and spend money, but no credit to wherever they just whoever's work they looked at to decide this information. And their related link. So they do have their defense. Google's defense is, look, we have 3 related links here, which they don't always have. But the related links are not necessarily to reputable websites. So this here is, what is the name of this site? Make Tech Easier. Oh, that site. Everyone knows Make Tech Easier. How about when you're searching for best CPU, of course you want MacPaw. How to choose the best processor for your MacBook. Or how to choose processor speed from smallbusiness.cron.com. Yeah, why should we give people like Tom's Hardware or even one of our competitors like PC Mag or PC World, send them to smallbusinesscron.com for their CPU advice? So these are poor quality links. But in a lot of cases, what's even worse is that, well, I don't know if it's worse. What's also really bad is that this stuff is copied word for word. So if you click this button here, you can expand and you can sort of see these. I don't consider this to be a citation. A citation is direct quotes or a footnote or something. But here you can sort of see, you can sort of see where they took the information from. So let's take a look at maybe a better one that I've already tracked back to where everything comes from. So here's a graphic where I actually circled everything. So I did a search for ThinkPad X13 AMD review, and I went and drew out how it had taken different pieces, sometimes word for word or sometimes changing a couple words to write its own little mini review here. So for example, Laptop Mag has a section where it says the keyboard is as fantastic as ever. There are plenty of ports in the chassis tested to military-grade durability. And it says here, it has a comfortable keyboard, military-grade durability, and plenty of ports, right? In another section, we said comfortable keyboard. They put comfortable keyboard. We said some site called Laptop Outlet, which sells laptops, says that it is, quote, packed with high-performing AMD's Ryzen 7 Pro. So what did they change it to? The ThinkPad X13 has an AMD Ryzen 7 Pro chipset, and so the best and cheapest laptops out there. You see that it used the exact same words, best and cheapest laptops out there, right? The other thing that was interesting is Notebook Check. This is a very odd little thing that they took the Notebook Check. Said that the screen shows good response rates are test, but may be too slow for competitive gamers. Which nobody's going to buy a ThinkPad X13 to be a competitive gamer. But for some reason, Google picked up on that and put not great for competitive gamers, maybe too slow for competitive gamers. The other thing is that these there's a couple other things wrong in this example. One is that One is that these are not all reviews of the same product. So it says here, the laptop is up to Gen 3 now, which is the latest version. When I Googled it, I said ThinkPad X13 AMD review. Now, it doesn't know that I meant the latest one, but it's probably good to give people the latest one. The reviews here from Laptop Mag and Tom's Hardware were for Gen 1 and Gen 2. So it's taking information from the wrong review of the wrong product. The other thing is it's inconsistent within itself. So these reviews said this has short battery life. The battery life is really short, but here they say it has long battery life. I guess they took that part from someplace else. So it's taking bits and pieces and throwing them together into a plagiarism stew that doesn't quite, add up. Now, you might say, why did you use a screenshot and not just show me this? I can show you, but the thing is that the results aren't identical every time. So here I actually went through and mapped it. But here's one I just did Dell XPS 13. So notice I searched for Dell XPS 13. It's giving me, now good news here is in this case, it's not taking up the entire screen. But it's giving me its own also little review. And I can sort of see where it took stuff from. And one thing that's interesting is it says 3.5K OLED screen and a sleek, opulent style. Well, sleek, opulent style is a very specific wording, don't you think? So,
Yes.
Yes. So here it is. Ozbot, I've never heard of them, says that the Dell XPS 13 has a sleek, opulent style. So,
Wait.
it thinks that it's a sleek.
The people who make the cameras?
I don't know who they are. Who is Ozbot? I don't even know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's
I
the people who
guess.
make the
Why do they?
cameras.
Why do they even have a page on this topic?
Who knows?
I honestly don't like
I
work from home
recognized
tricks.
I recognized the logo immediately because we had them on the show this year, I think. Or Todd
Why did they
interviewed them
do?
at in their booth.
Why
Either
did
way,
they do this? Um,
content marketing.
I yes, right. Okay, so that's another so what you point out is actually an interesting thing, right? So Google's not for, now maybe it'll get better at this. I won't say that this is, Google is not being very discerning about the quality or objectivity of the sites that it is taking from, right? It is not taking from the sites that the Google organic SERP thinks are the most relevant. Like, if I look here, The Verge, well, these are Amazon or whatever, because I didn't put a review, so whatever. But CNET, Digital Trends, whatever, all have Dell XPS 13 stuff, and they're all reputable journalism websites. Forbes, you could say, okay, is a reputable journalism website. The Verge, but content marketing also got sucked up in there, right? So they're not, they're not doing what Google search normally does, which is to say, okay, we're going to look at the reputation of this website and see if it is a site that has domain authority on this topic, or the author has authority on this topic. They're just grabbing stuff from everywhere and throwing it all together, mixing it all together. And that's that's not a recipe for a good result. um, and sometimes it's a little bit more apparent than others. So like, here's how to boil an egg, right? So Google has, if for folks who are familiar with how Google works, in normal search they have something called a featured snippet, which is like they kind of take a quote from an article and they put it in like the top result and they link to it. Now, this obviously hasn't been great for, may or may not have been great for traffic for the website involved, but at least it cites them directly, and there's a good chance that people will click through to see more. What they're doing here is they're not citing it; they're using it as a related link. So here you can see almost word for word: place eggs in a medium pot, place eggs in a medium pot, and cover with cold water by 1 inch. It's word for word, right? Word for word taken from this, but not attributed. I don't consider these to be attributions, right? Um, So that's, part of what's going on is that they're taking stuff, sometimes very often word from word, smattering it together and calling it their own, and putting these sort of links off to the side that may not even be high quality, may or may not be related to what probably are related to what's here, but may not necessarily be the best thing. And they're taking, in some cases, they're taking up either half of or the entire screen. And in some cases, they don't give you related links at all. So, like, here's screenshot in Windows, right? No related links here whatsoever. Um, and this came from somewhere. Um, Somebody wrote this. Maybe it was Microsoft, whatever. Um, and part of and so I think there's a few different problems that are happening together. One is obviously plagiarism. They're taking, I mean, I don't know. Some people are saying, oh, it's okay because they've related links, or if they change 2 or 3 words, it's not plagiarism. I would think of this as plagiarism. But plagiarism is not a legal definition. Plagiarism is an academic definition, and it's somewhat of a moral definition, but it's not a legal definition. The legal issue is copyright infringement. And, that has yet to be litigated in court, but I think there's a decent chance that it will be. Um, the News and Media Alliance, which represents newspapers and magazines, has said, and I quote, the unlicensed use of content created by our companies and journalists by GAI systems is an intellectual property infringement. GAI systems are using proprietary content without permission. And that's what's happening here. No, I guarantee you that nobody, certainly not us, gave Google permission to do this to our content. So they're taking content. Uh, they may get better at rewording it, so it's harder to track back to the source. But they're taking content, and they're taking content, and they are using it to create a situation where there may be no clicks going back to the people who actually did the writing, and there may not even be any credit going back to them. Well, that is very bad news for the internet, because um, if if that is what the internet is going to become, then you end up with a bad advice because it's a smattering of junk. B, it's bad advice because nobody's standing behind it, right? Whose review is whose advice is this? Whose whose advice is this? It's not Tom's Hardware's, it's not laptops, it's not laptop outlets. It's the bots copied from them. And the bot isn't even consistent with itself, but let's say that it was. The bot is the authority here. When something bad happens as a result of your following the bot's advice, who's responsible? For example, here, Google's not always saying that it doesn't want to mess with what they call YMYL, your money or your life queries. But this is your money or your life query, and they were more than happy to answer it incorrectly. So I asked it, should I get a colonoscopy? The current, for those who are not up in the colonoscopy scene, it has been recommended for like the last 3 years or so that anyone over age 45 get a colonoscopy as part of just routine screening. But here they have conflicting information that's wrong. It says the U.S. Preventative Services Task Force recommends adults age 45 to 75 be screened. And then it says the American Cancer Society recommends that men and women should be screened for colorectal cancer starting at age 50. That is actually not correct. The American Cancer Society's webpage says 45. So it's got outdated information that it probably grabbed from one of these sites. By the way, one of these sites here, the top one, is a health insurance site, not, you know, I mean, the Centers for Disease Control is on there also, but Health Partners is a health insurer site. Is that where you should be presenting health information from, the insurer's site, over, American Medical Association or the CDC or whatever, like reputable governmental and industry groups? Um, and here it also has, you know, confusing information because it says the reasons to have a colonoscopy include all these symptoms when actually you're supposed to have a colonoscopy as a regular screening. So anyway, I know Google could make a better AI and improve this and not do this, but this is dangerous. And yeah, okay, maybe they'll stop doing some health ones when they realize that this is dangerous. I tried to do this query like 5 minutes ago, and it for this time it didn't actually give me an answer like it did like yesterday, the day before. But it, I would consider giving you bad advice about what CPU to buy also a your money or your life question. I mean, it's not life and death, but it is your money, um, and it is advice. So we are asking for Google is asking folks to just to forget about expert humans who have experience and just trust their bot. Don't worry about what the humans say. Don't look for someone who has, years of experience or who actually performed the thing that, we actually tested the CPUs. We actually tried the laptops. Google's bot, no matter how advanced it gets, will never be able to do that ever because it's an LLM. It does not have arms and legs. Uh, so, you know, what Google is doing here is an anti competitive practice. It is doing something that is likely, if they were to roll it out to the public, to result in massive economic turmoil to anyone who publishes anything on the internet. Massive. Because, um, you know, if you see how far you have to scroll to get to the first organic search link, um, even though the quality of the answers is not good, and even if they got better, they would not have the authority of a person standing behind them to say, "Oh, I trust that person, I trust that news outlet, or I don't trust that news outlet." So, I'm not going to get my laptop advice from a webcam website, right? Um, but by trying to kind of obscure where it's getting the information from without directly quoting it, by trying to kind of push down human expertise in favor of its bot, Google is providing a poor experience, but a lot of people are just going to accept it because Google controls 91% of the search market. The end result is going to be a lot of companies losing a ton of traffic and revenue overnight, places going behind paywalls, places going out of business. If Google rolled this out tomorrow, I bet that like a very significant portion of web publishers do not already make a lot of their money from subscription revenue will be, would fold within, probably within a few months. That's how significant. Now that says some bad things about how dependent the internet economy is on Google playing fair. Uh, and this is anything but playing fair. It's taking your own content and using it to prevent people from visiting your website. Uh, and Google's response to all of this, of course, is, "Oh, we're just experimenting. It's okay. It's fine. We don't know if we'll roll it out like this." But Bing launched its experiment in January, I believe, and it's now live, right, for everyone. Now, Bing
Yeah,
handles this much better.
I'm
Uh,
looking at it in my Windows 11 taskbar.
right. Now, to be fair, Bing, by the way, Bing does this the right way. I mean, I don't know if they do it a great way, but they do it a much better way. So, on Bing, just I'll show real quick on Bing. like if you're on Bing, first of all, it's not generally not the default option, right? So if I'm here in Bing and I do best CPU, it's going to give me, no, we don't come out number one, which is bad, but they have a legit number one, which is PC Mag, right? So um, so Bing gives you the search results, and then you have to. I scrolled up to get, like, I had to scroll up to get this, right? So I scrolled up or I hit chat, and then when it gives me answers, it says Tom's Hardware recommends. They also recommend, and like these are citations with links. So I had, I've had kind of an ongoing little friendly or not so, debate with some folks I know who are professional SEO folks who feel that, some of these articles I've written about Google are unfair to Google. They're experimenting. Give them a break. Um, I mean, I really hope that they're just playing around, but Bing, from the moment they launched their testing, had citations, put things side by side with search. Bing from the start has, at least taken publishers into account, taken search into account, and not tried to present its bot as all seeing and all knowing, while plagiarizing from people. So Google could have done the same thing, and people have complained about its lack of proper citations back to when they had Bard. I mean, they still have Bard, but back to when before Bard launched. So Google clearly has a philosophy, which is expressed in some of their documentation, that their bot doesn't copy things, their bot creates. And so it would break the illusion that their bot was so smart, if it actually did what Bing does, and have footnotes and sources. So um, so I don't think that it's too soon to raise the alarm that what Google is doing here could be deadly for the internet. Also, Bing, for better or worse, controls maybe 3% of search. So even if Bing uh, was doing things the way that Google is doing it, it wouldn't be as big an area of concern, because any traffic they get, it's sort of iterative. But Google is abusing its with if Google rolls this out, it's abusing its monopoly position. It's turning itself into the publisher. Instead of being a search engine, it will be a plagiarism engine. And and that is very frightening, and it should frighten everybody, not just those of us who make a living from people coming to visit our websites. It should frighten those of you who uh, care about having websites out there for you to visit. And frankly, I even think folks who contribute to the internet for free would be put off by this. Like, if you're running a free, let's say you're just running a blog about a topic because you just like, providing content and getting feedback from people, and maybe it's good for your reputation or whatever. You're running a little blog on the side, or you're, go someone who goes and contributes to a lot of forums, or you're answering a lot of people's questions on Stack Overflow. Like, why would you do it if all you're doing is feeding Google stuff that can be used by its bot, with no credit for you, and nobody even sees the work that you've done?
Yeah. Just because I want to show this off. As you were talking, I was testing things on Bing, because I knew there was another UI experience that I had encountered, and so I kept going until I got it. So what I did was I searched for what is the best CPU for gaming, and you can see I got the Bing chatbot to come up with, oh, you can't see my mouse, to come up with content um, showing showing an answer. So it did take over where search results should be, right, pushing them down, but they did it in a very small box that you can expand larger, And as you said, there are learn more links. Interestingly, one of them is seemingly self-referential, which is interesting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not saying they're doing this perfectly. They could certainly be doing better, but like, yeah, it's showing you that, and more importantly, what it's really saying is, hey, I'm not the resource here. Like, I'm just
Yeah.
summarizing what's out there. Now go. Now you can go read. Like
Yeah. Because
that,
here's,
I think is a
according to PC
yeah.
Gamer, PC Games N,
N.
Tom's Hardware. There you are. Um, and they're all like direct linked, right? This is
Right.
where we
So
pulled this information from. It's like you said, it's not necessarily great. It's not the best situation, but it's essentially an upgraded version of the answer box, right? It's
right.
giving an answer and giving the link to where it got the answer from. That's an upgraded version of the answer box as far as I'm concerned. It's very different from the version that you showed from Google that was a whole screen, wall of text, and no references to be found.
Yeah, I mean, unless you count those little thumbnails on the side, which is what Google would say, right? Oh, look, we
But
have
did
these three little
but
these
but on one of them
links on the side.
I thought there was one that didn't have any.
Yes, correct. The screenshot in Windows. So it's
Yeah,
not always there. It's not always there.
right.
Um, and it's not always there. It takes over a good chunk of, if not the whole page. So I mean, yes, the search links are still there. If you scroll down, they have the related links, which if they really were serious about providing, like, this isn't, I think this is really what has to be emphasized to folks. This isn't about AI versus humans. This is about an anti-competitive practice by the world's by a virtual monopoly
Hmm.
uh, in Google. They control 91% of the search market. And while, yes, people have choices and can go to Bing or DuckDuckGo, for better or worse, Google, and they got there by providing a good experience. I've always been a big fan of Google, actually. Like, they provided a good experience. They beat the likes of, Alta Vista and Excite by providing you with a clean, fast experience that gave you good results.
Yeah.
But now that they have the 91%, this is indicative of, hey, we don't want to be a search engine anymore. We want people to stay on our site so we can keep all the ad dollars and all of the, e-commerce dollars here on Google, which is more profitable. And sorry guys, we're happy to take your data, but as far as actually driving traffic back to you, well, we'll throw a couple of little links in the side and say that we're not killing the open web. Um, the the question is, do people come to a search engine because they want to know what the search engine thinks, or do people come to the search engine because they want to find something? And
Yeah.
um, and Google is betting on its own reputation. It's replacing a cacophony of infinite voices with its own voice, although its own voice is a plagiarized voice. So I think this is of great concern. I hope that, like a lot of people who I've talked to say, oh, they can't possibly roll it out like this. Um, I hope they're right, but I'm not counting on there being on it. I'm hoping that folks will, especially folks in the media industry, but other folks will see this and say, like, hey, this is not good. This is not good for a reader user experience. This is not good for the future of the internet.
It sounds to me like that website that well, uh, we registered a number of years ago has a new purpose coming, the freeweb.rocks. It might it
Yeah.
might be it might be time to repurpose that
So,
from just ad blockers to
yeah,
anti-plagiarism.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm the killjoy. I'm the like the Lars Ulrich of internet content because like people everybody loved Napster, and then Lars Ulrich, drummer of Metallica, was like, "Hey, you guys are stealing our songs," and
Yeah.
a lot of people are like, "What a killjoy! I just want to download my free music." And I got some responses from I got some responses from today when I published this article from some people saying like, "Oh no, I like the Google Search Generative Experience because I don't see as many ads." Uh, and and if I click through to find things, so if I click through an actual website, I'll see ads. Well, first
Huh.
of all, that's something that's going to change. Okay, Google is right now not serving up a lot of ads in the Search Generative Experience because it's testing. But when it become, but believe you me, they will absolutely be serving up. In fact, those three related links might not be editorial anymore when this goes live. Maybe they will just be, sponsored links.
And
Um,
technically, the definition of ad, I based on the SEC, those shopping links from the processor are technically ads because they're
oh yeah,
affiliate links. And
oh
I
yeah, yeah.
guarantee
I mean
it's not
that
disclosed.
that's a money. I mean, Google has shopping links all the time. Uh, to be fair, right? They have
Mm-hmm.
it now. Like if you don't have this, but FYI, that's going to be like people will absolutely lose their jobs over that. I don't mean people at Google. I mean, people will absolutely lose their jobs over that because there's a lot of sites that are kind of reliant on giving buying advice, like this is the best CPU for you. And then when you go and you read that buying advice, there's links and like, hey, click this. If you click this, those sites get affiliate commission.
Yeah.
Well, Google is grabbing that affiliate commission for themselves while
Right.
taking the advice that those sites gave and making it its own. So like that's very problematic.
There was a
So
huge there was a huge lawsuit between Yelp and Google over Google Places, which doesn't exist anymore because of the lawsuit, um, over exactly this topic, and Google lost in court. That they were
right.
taking
So
content from Yelp and claiming it as their own and putting their own banner over top. It was considered plagiarism then. I don't understand how this is considered anything else.
I think the AI, I think this is where people are being fooled by the fact that this is AI. Forget that it's AI. Forget that there is a bot involved. Okay. You could hire a bunch of people for very cheap, probably, to go and do the same thing with humans. Take a whole bunch of words and sentences from other people's websites and copy and paste them into a bunch of responses, right? You could hire a bunch of human plagiarists. This is just plagiarism at scale, right? Like that's what it is. It's not. Now, we could argue, and I think there's a really good philosophical argument about whether any type of uh, answer from an AI would be plagiarism because the AI's never done anything that it's talked about. It has no life experience. It's done nothing. So it's going to get that data from somewhere. The only way that the only right now, because it's in beta, one thing that they'll probably do a much better job of in the future is laundering the plagiarism. Like right now, it's very easy to trace back where each sentence came from or where certain words came from. Yeah, I bet you that they can figure out a way in the future to not use the word opulent, right? Like, oh yeah, they said opulent. Let's find another word for that, right? Like that's easy enough to do with technology would be to make this it less obvious where they took it from. But make no mistake, they have to have taken it from somewhere because the bot did not go and work at a computer website for years of its life. The bot did not go and become a cook and learn how to boil eggs. The the bot is just taking information from somewhere and rewording it. That is, or not even rewording it.
Yeah.
So I think you know this is why I'm not such a big fan of a lot of these LLMs because all they're really doing is taking things that other people have said and rewording them. Now, when you ask it, what a bot I think is really good at, if we care, is um, making up weird creative stuff, not finding facts or truth or offering advice. But if you ask it to make like a Shakespearean sonnet about flatulence, it'll pop you one out in like 30 seconds, and it might be funny. Like, you know,
Pop you
if
one
you ask
out.
it,
That was wonderful wording.
you know, but anyway, like, this kind of thing, and this is, I'll leave you with this, but since we didn't show it yet, the bang in the wall, this is what I got from my this guy banged his head in the wall. Let's see what it looks like. Well, he's not really banging his head in the wall, is he? But does he look like me? Kinda. Uh, kinda. Um, I love that I have a hat on in this, but they assume that I'm bald. I guess they know. Um, now,
They're watching the
by the
show.
way, but by the way, I have no idea. Like Runway, I have no idea where their training data is coming from, right? Like this isn't just a text problem. I'm just a text person, so that matters. What matters to me, but like I have no idea where this person's beard came from or whatever. Like is now I have to say, unlike some other resources I've used where they just like it's clear that they took it from somewhere. Without permission, I don't know where Runway got its training data. Maybe it paid for a whole library of stuff. I don't know, but certainly like Getty is suing Stable Diffusion, uh, and this week I think asked a London court to block Stable Diffusion from doing business in the UK. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think unfortunately we're going to need more lawsuits like that, because AI should not be like it's great when you can use AI for natural language stuff. You can use it for transcriptions. Lovely. There's so many great things you can do with AI. The problem is not AI. The problem is that AI is being used as a plagiarism tool, and intellectual property still matters whether it's being stolen by an AI or stolen by a human. So that's my 2 cents. Anyway, you can read a lot more about this on tomshardware.com.
Oh, just I I asked Bing to write that sonnet. By the way, it's
I
pretty
mean,
funny.
they're really good, and I mean, like when people use these things in a funny way, it's like, look, fine, it's cute, right? Like
Yeah,
we talked about the pizza later video and showed
sure.
it a few weeks ago. That was made with Runway ML,
Mm-hmm.
uh, right? And they have a new one called Flat You Less, which is a commercial for a drug to help you not fart, uh, and it is absolutely hysterical.
Oh,
Um, so like, yeah, great. That's a good use of AI, I guess. But like, we have to be conscientious about the fact that everything that these AIs are spitting out was at somewhere in link in the chain was created by a human.
just point out that a Bing search for "Flat Less" brings up Tom's Hardware as the top result.
Yeah, I wrote an article about it because
Yeah,
I had to call attention. Like, read our article, but go watch the video about flatulence
yeah.
because it's hysterical.
I do appreciate that your article is the first result, though. That I always
I
enjoy that.
have to, if we can't rank for best CPU because Google's going to take that, we have to rank for flatulence. That has to be we have to
Fair
come up
enough.
number one for something.
And on that note, the first line of this sonnet is, "Oh, how the wind doth blow from out thy rear."
Yeah.
I'm going to include the entire sonnet in the summary of this episode. If you're watching live, you'll have to wait until tonight. If you're not watching live, check the description in the video that you're watching right now to read the sonnet that Bing came up with. Hilarious. Anyway, big topic, important topic. I always appreciated Avram. This is a problem for all of us online, and I'm like, I have our website up, and I'm thinking about how to rework it to include not just ad blockers but also
Yep.
generative AI, and
Ad
particularly
blockers.
Bing
I
and
mean,
Google.
it seems so quaint
I
because at
know.
least with people ran ad blockers, they saw our work.
I know. At
Like
least you
they
could
wanted
count.
to see our work.
At least you could
You
count
know,
their view as a stat.
yeah. At least they read our work. I mean, listen, if I had some kind of wealthy benefactor, I'd be happy to run a website with no ads and just do this for the heck of it.
Sure.
Um, but even if I had a wealthy benefactor, I wouldn't want to do something just to help Google come up with better answers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is going to be a problem. It's going to be interesting to see if and or how Google decides they want to address this. Like you said, maybe they don't come out with it like this, but who knows? Trying to bank on Google's largesse is probably not the place to be. So we probably need to be prepared for what is to come. As always, Avram, I appreciate the information, and I look forward to what we talk about next. Hello, YouTube. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Piltch Point with Avram Pilch. If you did, please subscribe to our channel, and of course hit the notification bell since subscriptions don't mean much on YouTube anymore. And if you've got topics you'd like us to discuss in the future, we'd love to hear from you in the comments below. If you don't want to follow us on YouTube, that's okay. There's a lot of other ways that you can follow our content. You can find all of that by going to plughitslive.com/subscribe. There you'll see all of our shows and all the different ways that you can watch, listen, and follow along.